Start here. Here we are. Oh, we are here with Bruce Cates. This is our Spotlight on Niles series. And I usually go to businesses in town, but we're going to start interviewing people that have had a huge impact on our village here, as Bruce calls it. So, Bruce, how long have you lived in Niles?
Oh, well, on and off, probably about 30 something plus years.
And during that time, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes. Let's see.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
a lot of changes.
Uh huh.
I've seen it go from literally, kind of ironically, from where you could shoot a cannon down the street and not hit anybody to now where you can shoot a cannon down the street, not hit anybody. But only because of this virus, it was actually becoming very uh, busy. A lot of a lot of traffic, all sorts of.
So, so you were also at one time, I know, a restaurant owner here in town. When I first met you in '98, you were in charge of beautifying the town, and I remember when I first met you, I volunteered to help uh, put benches together here. You were getting the benches and
That's
all
right.
kinds
I'd
of.
forgotten that, Liz.
Yeah, so you've really been the catalyst for getting things done around here, would you say?
I yeah, I did my fair share of pissing people off over time. But, no, I actually uh, I had a great love for the history of the town,
That's
and I
right.
think that's where the genesis of it was, and thus the benches that you were involved with. That was quite a long time ago, actually, and you were one of the gals. Actually, I now remember we were putting the oil and stuff on the wood of the benches,
Oh yeah.
and then you piled the rags on a nice, neat pile on the top of the table, and the whole thing caught fire.
Well, you know what? Okay, so moving on. Moving on. Let's talk about your role with the Silent Film Museum in Bronco Billy.
Well, during that time when we did the benches, uh, was when we were trying to keep. Well, we put together the Bronco Billy Silent Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
When I say we, it was myself and Irene Perez and David Keene and Janet Pasano and a few others. Johnny McFlanagan, who was a radio personality here in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
people like that. And we decided that we wanted to do a historic review of sorts by a symposium, putting on a symposium where we would have all these historians from all over the world, really, came and gave talks on the silent film industry and how Niles, the industry in Niles, was relative to all that, which turned out to be rather dramatic. So a lot of us didn't realize how big of an impact that the Niles S&A Silent Film Museum or Silent Film Company was to the world movie business and all that at the time.
Yeah.
David Keene was my focus at the time because he was in solid film buff already. He was writing a book about the Bronco Billy influence into the film industry and how when Bronco Billy, alias William, yeah, Gilbert M. Anderson was his real name.
Okay.
Anyway, his whole approach to bringing the history around was through the S&A studios. But my vision was a little bit bigger than that in terms of I wanted to have a real museum here, and there's a great documentary that was made at the time about what we did, and it actually shows me a much younger me actually.
I think chaps are involved. Are there chaps involved?
At that time, there was no chaps.
You also, so I mentioned you own a restaurant in town. I mean, I'm just thinking of all the things you've done since you've lived here, and I'm drinking delicious coffee out of a mug you made. You are also a ceramicist, a restaurateur, a silent film buff. What else? What else?
Well, at the time
Oh, Leaf.
I met my
Yes.
lovely wife,
Oh, wait.
Lorna.
Can we pan over to our lovely wife? We're panning over to her. Oh, there she is. Lorna Janes and her puppy. Okay, there we go. So, yes, we have Leaf as well. So go ahead. Back.
Well, Leaf was an
train
acronym
station.
for
The train-
Local Ecology and Agriculture Fremont. Uh, Basically, at the time, before this happened, I was asked by Bruce Roding, who the Roding family was the family that owned the California Nursery, which is a very famous nursery in the world. And Bruce came to me and wanted me to help him because I had started the Silent Film Museum. Wanted me to help him start a museum about the California nursery history. And he had all this stuff and things that he needed to archive and all that. And so I helped him form a nonprofit. We got a board of directors together. I sat on as the president for a period of time trying to get it up and running. I spent a couple of years doing that. And in the process, the California Nursery, it was the Naka Nursery folks that were leasing it from the California Nursery folks. And they decided to close down after 35 years of business. And so I saw an opportunity to maybe have that be a way to fund the museum project, was to have to take on the nursery project and have that become a nonprofit nursery and working. And there was a lot of politics involved, which I didn't know. There was
Shocking.
Yeah.
Isn't that shocking? I'm so surprised. But
I mean, it's natural when you have a
That's-
fantastic, beautiful piece of property
uh-huh.
that there would be competition for something like that. Should somebody else, take away, leave from it. And there were, and there was, and it was all good intentions on everybody's part. I will not slight anybody in the process. However, at the time, I realized that there was this need for, to bring more people from the community involved in this. And so I had a meeting down at the old California Nursery. I think about 97 people showed up. As
Wow.
I remember, and I just gave a rambling speech about how wonderful it would be to have something, and I gave a basic vision about what I thought could happen. And the people that were there seemed to be very interested in it. In fact, I would say out of that 97 people, it went down to about 37 people. And we all met one day at my restaurant, at the S&A Cafe. And we just had a nice brainstorm chat about what we could do. And it sort of culminated around a few individuals that later became the core, which was about 9-10 of us, and we have formed a board of directors.
And you use a lot of volunteers too. High school kids come and help you, right?
We did. There was
Yeah.
lots of folks in the community as well were participating at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't have a place to actually do it. And so I happened to have a piece of property downtown on the boulevard there that had been vacant lot for some time, and decided that maybe that would be okay. So I allowed them to use it to build a small community garden of sorts, and that's where we kind of got our start. Really got things rolling. Lots of people were making great headway, and then the whole time we were trying to actually get some property at the California
nursery.
In that political process I talked about, some things happened, and finally, after some arm twisting, and so we finally got a piece of property. We're able to put together a really fine, one of the finest community garden plots type thing for the community itself.
Right.
And that was up and running, but we still didn't satisfy all our needs. We went to, we found another piece of property, which is nearby here. Dr. Stone over at the Mission Peak Medical
Mission Valley
Vet
Veterinary.
Center, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she had this piece of property behind that she said that we could use, so she has let us use it now for a number of years. It was a 10-year lease. I guess that's probably halfway through that at least. And now that is becoming, and adjacent to it is a piece of land that Almay County Water District has allowed us to use, 2 or 3 acres over there. And so now we have a fairly large plot that we can actually have a small farm. We have been I'll reel back a little bit. The Mission Valley, Mission Peak Unitarian Universalist Church got involved, which they funded some money to put together to build the garden there at that property. And they built this lovely permacultural style garden. And the volunteers that came from the church did all the work and soil amendment and all those great things. And then they built a couple of greenhouses on it and so on and so forth. We managed to bring around a wonderful small farm, nursery operation, a community garden of sorts with lots of vegetables that are grown, and most of all the produce actually goes to the Tri-City Volunteers Food Kitchen, and they distribute it from there to the homeless and needy, which is a great thing that's going on. I'm getting long-winded, Liz.
No, I was no. Wait. Let me.